Woke up to probably a good solid 4 inches of snow today, and we have never had this much snow this early in the year. Even the leaves aren't completely gone on the trees, and we've got snow like this. I'm gonna watch all day and see just how much it takes before the snow slips off the solar panels, but the sun's supposed to come out, so our battery bank is at about 60% right now, so hopefully we can get that snow slipped off and get the batteries charging. Okay, the weather's changing awful quick. We're gonna get some snow tonight. Because this second tank is still exposed, I've got to get it drained. It's probably going to take all night for it to drain. I've got to get the water shut off inside the tank shed. Again, because this second tank is not winterproof, I have to get it drained. And then I brought a piece of tin up to try and basically plug the hole in the corner where the raccoon that got, whatever it was, I'm pretty sure it was a raccoon, they got in there last year, maybe keep them out this year. But the temperature's dropped almost 20 degrees since this morning, and this storm is coming in, so I need to get this done. This is the tank sensor device that sends a signal down to my house and tells me how full the tank is. And I just remembered that I haven't linked this up to the new Starlink internet, so I'm going to run down to the house and do this real quick as well, and then come back up and put everything back together. Alright, I got everything buttoned up just in time. I've got the secondary water tank draining. As long as that water's moving through that hose, it's not going to freeze tonight. This is my favorite view on the property. My favorite trees. Probably not going to happen this year, but next year I'm going to redo this whole thing. I'm going to do some sort of an underground water tank shed that's got enough room for 3 tanks, that I can actually lift the roof if I ever have to replace one of those tanks. And I don't want to do this anymore. I was going to get to it this year, but it's not happening. This storm is coming in right now, and it is freezing cold, and I get to go pick up the kids on the side-by-side. Okay, over my left shoulder is one of our goats that was born in February of last year. She didn't come down yesterday when I fed the other goats, and she normally always stays very close to her mom. And I noticed that all of a sudden they were all picking on her. She's the smallest, and she's colored different than the rest of them. She's a great little dairy goat though, and she's the nicest little goat. It really bums me out. But they all picked on her. And again, like I said yesterday, when I went to feed them, she wasn't there. And so I came up here looking around for her, and I found her, but that's not where I found her. I found her down to the left over here. Something has drug her over there closer to our fence. And so I'm going to go have a look and see what it was. before the snowstorm came blowing in, I had to deal with that goat that initially I thought either was killed by one of the other goats, possibly that billy goat. But after I got her and loaded her in the back of the side-by-side and brought her down the hill, I concluded that it may have been a mountain lion. Probably more than likely it was a mountain lion. And the reason I say that is because the her entire right shoulder was gone, nowhere to be found. And she had been drug about 60 feet across the yard. We moved all the goats back down here to the front pasture right here by the house. And I hauled off the carcass, so there's nothing left to worry about. But we may have lost another goat to a predator versus, her getting beat up by one of the other goats or something like that. She was a really cute little dairy goat. She had a lot of personality, but she was different and she was small. And for whatever reason, her mom and her got picked on by everybody else. Her mom has spots all over her and she had spots all over her. And they just kind of have a pecking order for some reason, which can be painful to watch. But as far as the predator is concerned, the way that goat had been torn apart, it actually hadn't been torn apart. If it was coyotes, more than likely the soft organs and the guts would have been torn out of her, and none of that happened. It was simply that entire right shoulder was gone. Because it had rained a whole bunch and then snowed, I couldn't find any tracks, but I may set up a trail cam up there and just keep tabs on things. But now we have the goats down here in front, and I'm not ready for them. So they're just basically sitting here tearing up the hay that we stacked last week. So I've got to get on the goat barn and get something going ASAP. I'm just hoping by the end of the week, it's supposed to be nice and sunny and really dry out. I'm hoping that it dries out enough that I can get all the posts in the ground that I need to. This old leaf spring is so worn out. I hit the bump stop constantly. So I'm gonna try that other leaf spring. It's not rated for this motor, but like I said, if it settles to a 3 or 4 inch lift, then I'm good with it. Ruby, this is Ruby's safe place right here. She ran away the other night with Bandit, and they were gone for probably 24 hours. And she came back, and she hasn't quite been the same dog, meaning she's been extremely needy, even a little bit whiny. I don't know if the weather was getting bad at that time. Stay, honey. The weather was getting bad, and I don't know if she got scared, if something really... The last 3 nights in a row, she's kept me awake just whining, and she'll put her head next to me, and she sleeps on the side of my bed. Of mine and Cedar's bed. And then yesterday she got out. I let her out. We try not to let the two dogs out together, but occasionally they sneak out. Yesterday I let her out, and the neighbor's dog came running over, and they like to go run around together, but they're usually not gone as long. And the neighbor's dog came over to get her to go for a 2-hour run, and she came running up the driveway, and she ran right up to the back door, and she jumped on the back door, letting me know that she did not want to go. And so I don't know if she just got scared. She hurt her left front foot. She always wears her paw out when she does this. And I'm halfway tempted to let her and Bandit out together to see if she finally has outgrown this, and if she, nothing happened to her. She's physically fine, other than her foot was sore. But I don't know if she just had a little You know, my biggest fear is coyotes when she's up there running around. I don't know, but she's kind of been a little bit more clingy and needy, so I just throw her in my truck and leave her there. All of the measurements on these leaf springs are almost identical except for the width of the bushing. I'm gonna have to modify this bushing and make these bushings a little bit narrower, but everything else fits. And I think I'm gonna do it because that's how I do stuff, I guess. But I also want to see how this truck looks with a good lift on it. There we go. Okay, what would have been a 6-inch lift on a Chevy truck looks more like about an 8-inch lift on a Dodge, which is too much for me. But I put the leaf springs on the front end. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the tires on and just get a look at it. That's a 6-inch, those are those 6-inch springs.
It doesn't look like 6 inches.
It looks like 10 inches.
Yeah.
It doesn't look right to me. Look at it, pulled the yoke out of the drive shaft.
Oh, so it's too tall after all that?
I didn't tighten anything down that much because I just kind of had a feeling.
What was it before?
I didn't measure it. The problem is my tires that I have coming are basically the same size as those tires.
Like a 13-inch gap between the tire and the...
It might settle. It probably will settle. But,
Imagine if this thing didn't have a motor in it.
yeah, it'd be up in the air another 6
Yeah.
inches. I mean, if the yoke was in right, I would drop it. I would jack it up and drop it a couple times to see if it comes down at all. It's just too much. The pinion angle on the differential is not good. Let's do that. I'm gonna pull that front yoke out of there real quick and see if it comes down anymore because it's pretty pinchy.
Yeah, you're
So 43.5. What's the other side at? See, this side's a 1/2 inch lower. Let me pull that drive shaft out of there. I think I'm just gonna take those leaf springs apart and these apart and make one leaf spring. And that should get me like a 2, all I want is like 2 inches. I just want it to be even. Well, I deliberately didn't tighten everything down because I just had a feeling that it was gonna be too much. The pinion angle is not good. I can't even turn the front drive shaft without it binding. I'm gonna take the old leaf springs and the new leaf springs and see if I can't make one leaf spring out of it. I've had that orange floor jack for longer than I've had 3 of my kids. The other day, Rhett was using that orange floor jack to rotate his tires from front to back, and the jack slipped and damaged his steering stabilizer to the point where he had to replace it. Now, I've cautioned him, because there is no pad on that floor jack, I've cautioned him to be very, very careful. I cautioned him in general. Do not ever put your legs or your hands in a place where if the truck slipped that you're not going to be in danger. But that floor jack has history. I allowed one of my friends from back in the good old days in Arizona to borrow that floor jack, and when he returned it, there was no pad. I insisted that he had the pad. He insisted that he didn't. That floor jack has slipped off of I don't know how many axles. And over the weekend, I decided it was time to make that thing go away. And the old farm supply store had a sale on their 3.5-ton floor jacks, so I replaced it. So I'm gonna throw that thing in the back of my truck and take it down to the scrapyard. much better. Okay, it was 44 inches. Now it is at about 40 inches. And my gut feeling is it's gonna settle even more than that. But that's really all I was after, is just to try and get that thing close to level. And actually, it's still, the flatbed is still probably an inch higher than the front is, but this looks much better to me. I have a set of tires coming for it that are my good old faithful BFGs that I love, those BFG KM3s. But I don't know when they're gonna get here, again, with everything that's going on. So these tires are gonna have to get me by. Until then, I also have a new set of just the Alcoa 17-inch rims sitting down at the tire shop for when those tires get here. So I ended up replacing motor mounts, rotors, brake pads, U-joints, both sides. That U-joint was dry as a bone and it was shot. I went ahead and did the front drive line as well, and new brake pads, and greased everything up front. And I did the new leaf springs. So hopefully I don't have any issues for a while. Now I feel more than confident pulling a trailer behind this truck 6 hours away if that's what it requires. The next step on the truck is to get a turbo and some injectors and try and get it up over 200 horsepower. I'm not trying to build a hot rod out of it, but I'm not crazy about the stock horsepower, which I think is somewhere right around 145 horsepower. I really like the truck. At some point, I'm gonna paint it, and I'm gonna modify that flatbed. I don't care for that flatbed, but I need to get the bed tank and the toolbox out of the red Dodge on this truck. My brother-in-law is gonna come pick up that red Dodge literally any day. But anyway, I'm gonna take it out, go for a drive, and see what it feels like.